Yo, welcome back to another episode of Mailbag Monday. Although a lot's changed. It is not only not Monday, it is Wednesday, July 24th, but we are in Nashville. I got Dylan and Matt Odell this time around. What's up, buddy?
Yo,
How do I intro you? Partner at 1031?
managing partner 1031,
Managing partner.
co-founder of Bitcoin Park.
Just a bunch of
That's
suit
where we
stuff.
are right now, Bitcoin Park.
Venture capitalist and real estate broker Matt Odell.
Co-founder,
joined us.
co-founder of OpenSats.
Mm.
OpenSats.
I have nothing bad to say
Host
about
of
that.
Rabbit Hole Recap and host of Silo Dispatch.
Do you take lesser titles,
There's
or,
all the titles.
or is it always just
I could just go with Bitcoiner.
Yeah, okay.
Bitcoiner.
pleb?
Nonetheless,
Former Twitter influencer.
a legend in the space. I actually just said in our panel, like a big brother to me. I would say you're older than I am by not too much though.
Yeah, we're not gonna.
So
your
big-
age is public. Mine is not.
So big brother is justice, but I'm pumped. We're happy to be here. So we got no dollar bill, we got no my parents. Bitcoin's still range bound between 60,000 and 70,000. I think not a lot's changed. It's get long, get paid. But what we probably got to talk about is the conference and Trump. I think that's where we start. What do you guys think? Someone take the mic and tell me, is America going to buy Bitcoin? Is that a good thing? Do politics matter?
What do you think, Dylan?
I've always thought that nation-state game theory would be the most interesting thing to watch play out because it's the largest bag holders on planet Earth. It's the money printers competing for a finite supply of Bitcoin, which I've always thought is just a fascinating end game for Bitcoin.
Are you done talking?
Yeah.
Nation state FOMO. I mean, I think.
Well, set the stage. Set the stage. We're in your hometown. Why?
Nashville, we have the Bitcoin conference.
And
It's-
Trump's speaking.
It's moved from Miami. Trump speaking. Vice President Harris might be speaking.
She officially declined.
Yeah, she
Oh,
declined.
she declined. Okay. Elon Musk might be speaking.
Heard that.
A who's of senators might be are speaking.
Heard that.
Um,
And the rumor is that Trump is going to announce a strategic reserve of Bitcoin, right? That's
yeah, I mean, I don't like talking about rumors. I think Trump's announcement is going to be quite large. And I think that the era of nation state FOMO has begun or is about to begin, and we're going to witness that here in Nashville. I think you got to follow incentives. You just simply follow incentives. And if Trump has a bag of Bitcoin, personally, if his donors have Bitcoin, and if what he does and says can actively move the price of Bitcoin up significantly, it's hard to imagine he doesn't do that. Like, the incentives just align where if you make an announcement that the U.S. government is going to essentially become MicroStrategy with a money printer and start printing money and stacking a shit ton of coin, the Bitcoin price should presumably move.
I agree with that. I got a lot to say though, and I got a lot of questions for you guys. The first is nation state FOMO is distinctly different than corporate FOMO or retail FOMO. Let me tell you the biggest difference that Matt hinted at subtly is that they can print their own money. So I think if you progressively walk through what nation state FOMO might look like, if the U.S. prints a bunch of money and buys whatever, 100,000 Bitcoin, what's going to stop them from realizing, wait, why can't we print money and buy another 100,000 Bitcoin? There's a massive difference between that and someone like Saylor. Saylor can live to be 500 years old, and he's never going to be able to build an enormous position that could absolutely, like, that could be substantial in size.
It's an unlimited balance sheet.
Right. And so, and the United States, so the problem is they're going to be rapidly debasing their currency against a hard asset. So I think there's a lot. Anyway, I'll stop there because I don't want to take over the episode. I'll stop there
It's your show, bro.
and ask, what do you guys make of that? Do you expect another nation state to realize, like, oh, wait a second, we can print money and buy hard assets? Who cares about the value of our currency? Do you expect Europe then to own Bitcoin, the European Union, and then the United Kingdom, and then Japan? How do you think the nation state game theory plays out when you watch the United States of America debase their currency and say, I'm just going to print and buy?
Well, I think, not all individuals are the same, not all companies are the same, not all governments are the same. The general thesis remains the same, though, which is at some point everybody's going to realize that the goal is to accumulate as much Bitcoin as possible, whether you're a person, whether you're a company, whether you're a government. Now, smaller businesses are more nimble than large businesses. Individuals that might not have a family yet and have large expenses are more nimble than individuals that have families. And the same goes with governments. Like if you're a dictatorship of like a small country, you can quietly amass a relatively large Bitcoin position. If you're a large democracy or representative, what do they call our electoral system? We're technically not a democracy.
A democratic republic.
A democratic republic. Like you have certain checks and balances that you have to have transparency. Like if Trump, for instance, wants to buy a ton of Bitcoin, he's presumably going to need like Senate approval. Mm-hmm. Like it's all going to be out there and in the open, right? But if you're like a small country like Bhutan, you're able to. We found out that Bhutan has been stacking Bitcoin, and we found out only because of the bankruptcy papers that got released.
Yeah.
From I think it was Celsius, like Celsius and BlockFi, they were creditors in that. So we found out. So there probably are already small countries that have relatively nimble, secretive governments that are already stacking. So then the question becomes, what happens when the big dogs that have more transparent governments with these checks and balances, where they have to actually like basically telegraph to the whole world that they're stacking, and then they start getting front run, right? And it kind of becomes this circular feedback loop, right? Where everyone's trying to front run each other and it's all out in the open. And then meanwhile, like the dictators are like, hold my beer, because they're just stacking like crazy. So I think it could get like really, really, really crazy really quickly. But then the one last piece to put in there in terms of money printing is the US and maybe the EU to a lesser extent sit in like almost reserve. Like US is straight up a reserve currency, and the euro is the second most dominant currency. So they have a little bit more leeway to print, right? Like the US specifically, we're in this unique position where all our debt is priced in our shitcoin. Mm-hmm. Right. So we have way like if you want to save American solvency, like the cheat code is we just print this thing into obsolescence and just stack as much Bitcoin as possible. And all of our debt basically goes to zero. Mm-hmm. Because we've just destroyed the currency that its unit of account is in. Mm-hmm. Like that's very unique to us.
Yes, that's my curiosity is, so the goal of the United States, for those that aren't familiar, is to weaken the US dollar. And you would say, well, that doesn't seem very intuitive. Why would that be the case? It's because we owe the most US dollars. So we are in debt and owe the thing. And so the more valuable the thing gets, the more expensive our debt. The cheaper and less valuable the thing gets, the easier it is to actually pay the debt down. And so no matter what your politicians tell you, the goal is to debase the US dollar so it's easier to climb out of the hole of debt that the government has created. So the idea that you can print and debase your currency while then exchanging it for a hard asset, in fact, the hardest asset, is obviously both ingenious, and Bitcoiners have been waiting for this moment, but I wouldn't say risky, but it's like there's going to be fireworks for sure. For example, are the American people going to say, well, wait a second, why would I give a fuck about the CPI? Maybe the real inflation rate is the Bitcoin price, because you're actively debasing my currency, my legal tender, against this hard asset. So in order for me to see the rapid debasement, I'm not going to pay attention to the consumer price index. I'm going to pay attention to the Bitcoin price. And if you did that, you'd say on average, inflation is on average 63% year over year. Now, but this is a dangerous thing. If you look back through history, central banks will sometimes debase and reprice against gold. It's still different though, because all gold is custodied and concentrated in government and central banks. And so they can all in unison, like the Fed can say, our gold is now worth this. And the world can't really do much about that. And they can totally reprice the dollar against the gold. And the physical gold is not traded in a free market anymore. That's a lot of the problem, a lot of the reason Bitcoin exists. So you have a free market animal that lives outside the control of anyone, that the world reserve currency is going to actively and purposefully debase their currency against. It's a real statement to the American public. It's a real statement to all the other central banks and governments around the world. It's a real statement to those that hold U.S. debt. I mean, the U.S. isn't the only holder of the debt. They actively sell and solicit people to buy their debt. So what message are you sending them?
There's a lot of individuals hold U.S. debt.
Of course. I mean, the entire U.S. banking system is predicated on that debt. And so
straight evil laugh from Dylan.
It's just
true.
It's just interesting. It's just interesting. The takeaway is, as always, the safe place to be is in Bitcoin.
Stay humble, stack sats.
You can't lose if you're in Bitcoin. If you physically own the Bitcoin, they can't take it from you. They cannot price control you. They cannot confiscate. And so as long as you're not a liability on a bank's balance sheet, you're safe. And so the exit door remains. But if Trump gets up there and says no more war, and by the way, I'm going to rapidly debase our currency against Bitcoin.
Well, he's not going to say it that way,
do
right?
Geopolitical affairs change? Does confidence in the bond market change?
But could you look at it? Is there any merit to say it's a short-term and rapid debasement of the U.S. dollar in order to at least attempt to stabilize the debt? Because the alternative is just printing anyway. But
no, I disagree with that. Well, listen.
Why?
Well, I think there's alternatives that are practical conceptually, but not practical in reality. Like, for example, if I were tasked to solve this problem, no Bitcoin included, I have to get America back into a healthy economic state, like the Fed balance sheet back. You just let all the banks fail. You remove the simplistic government guarantee that banks are going to get bailed out no matter what. So remove the FDIC insurance. Say if your deposit's not there, it's just not there. People flee the smaller banks. People flee the banks, period. Put their money where they know it's real and it's there. The banks collapse. Jamie Dimon, all these big Citibank executives out on the street, jobless. Shareholders take over the banks. We go through a Great Depression, and then we build back better. So, there are options.
No, I'm laughing.
You'd be impeached in 20 seconds.
I'm just laughing at Build Back Better.
Yeah, that's a Biden thing. Right?
Oh, is it? Sorry, I'm not. No left, no right. My point is,
you think that would be a better path for Americans?
No, but I don't think
it would definitely be a worse path for people that currently own Bitcoin.
Yeah, so here's the problem. The problem is, and I've said this a million times, I like to think of it debt to GDP ratio. So debt to GDP tells me how much governments have borrowed from our future versus their ability to pay it back. And if debt to GDP is over 300%, that tells me they've borrowed an immense amount from our future with no fundamental way to actually pay that back. The issue with that is there has been a loss. A loss has occurred. Someone borrowed real time and energy and messed up. And so someone has to realize the loss. So the idea that nobody gets fucked is incorrect. Like the loss has to be realized somewhere. So either the banks are fucked, the people are fucked. So if you rapidly debase the US dollar against Bitcoin, then all the US dollar holders are fucked. Is that's what's best for America? There's the problem is there's no way out.
But couldn't it help like long term stabilize a bit of that debt? Bitcoin is real growth. That's to me that's the problem that we have. Is I don't understand. So we borrowed from our future. Where is the growth going to come from?
Totally.
If you want to be in a situation where America is not in debt in 10 years, like we have no debt as a country, like we're operating in a surplus, and like countries do this. Like Norway is super energy rich. They operate at a surplus. They have a sovereign wealth fund. They own like 5% of all equities in existence.
If they also tax the shit out of it.
Yeah, I know it's ridiculous. But at least
like the shit.
And this will definitely be taken out of context. But at least the tax is automated. Like they don't like make you play that game where it's like we don't know how much we're taxing you, and then you report it, and then they're like you lied, and then they go after you. They just automatically withdraw it from your fucking bank account. But that will definitely be taken out of context. I would never live there for various reasons. But my point is
run the IRS.
Is if I mean, you know, while we're at it, like maybe Trump will just abolish the IRS, but I doubt he would ever do that. If you want America to be in 10 years, if any time in America's future we have no debt, this is probably the only path to that.
I agree.
Which is you just stack a huge Bitcoin position, and the Bitcoin appreciates in value from a self-fulfilling prophecy of America joining the fray, results in rapid adoption of Bitcoin, and then you're at this massive surplus, and then, you know,
I agree.
We'll probably ruin it and spend all the money somehow, right? Eventually. But if you want to dig out of the hole that we're in, like you make a platinum coin or whatever. What's the meme? You like make a platinum coin, you just buy Bitcoin with it, and you see how long it takes for the market to price that in, because it probably takes a bit. Now, I don't know if that's necessarily quote unquote better for the average American, and I don't pretend to know if it's better for the average American. What I do know is that if you hold your wealth in Bitcoin right now, it is unequivocally best case scenario, regardless of any policy change. Yeah. Like I'm not sitting here pretending like Trump is going to have great policy for Bitcoin as freedom money or any of the shit. But that's net was going to be the same regardless.
Yep.
If he pumps the shit out of Bitcoin by saying that America is going to start actively stacking Bitcoin, and he's not going to say I'm debasing the country, right? Like what's the wording that we've heard? Strategic Bitcoin reserve. Right, he's gonna say like it's
national.
We're gonna make America great again. We're gonna start stacking Bitcoin or whatever. It's unequivocally good for anyone who holds their wealth in Bitcoin, just because you will have more purchasing power, and then everything else we can deal with at a later date.
To be clear, I do think America should do this. I do think Trump should say it. It's just gonna be interesting. I don't give a fuck because I don't own any dollars. So I'm excited no matter what he says. But I think that this is the unwind of the like post World War II macro geopolitical setup that we have. And it takes everyone to tango. Like Japan is in trouble and like we open a swap line. Like here are the rules. Nobody sells their treasuries. That's the rule. If anyone's ever in trouble, you are not allowed to market dump your treasuries. We can't sustain that.
It's a fucking Ponzi.
It's a giant Ponzi that everyone's in on. And so if someone like the US is like, well, we realize it's kind of a Ponzi. And listen, I know he's not going to say that, but like the world it's digital age. We're in cyberspace. Information moves and travels and people are smart. And if the United States comes out and says, it kind of is a Ponzi and we are in a lot of debt that we can't pay back. And the way we're going to pay it back is by printing what we clearly don't value and buying something that we actually think can outgrow our deficit. which is another way of saying buying what we think is arguably one of the most valuable things in the world. The thing that's the message that sends, and the ripple effects of like, are people going to start dumping their treasuries? Does that change the way? We'll see, because I mean, that's the part I'm curious. Like, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out where the game theory goes, because if I'm another central bank, I'm like, well, then I don't fucking care about my currency valuation either. I need to own a bunch of this stuff. Bitcoin's the scarcest thing we've ever seen. It's going to go up way faster than people realize. People think buying 100,000 Bitcoin is the current spot price plus or times 100,000. Wrong. You have to fill that order. You have to go up to fill that. So I'm just curious where the game theory goes. And the last thing I'll say is he's doing it. He's announcing something. If he does, which by the way, we're all speculating on rumors. I have no idea. If he does, he's announcing something that he can't do yet, which is obviously economically stupid, because I'm going to have to get filled at a higher price. Everyone's going to price in my announcement before I can fill myself. The smart thing to do would be to buy all the Bitcoin and then announce that you've bought it.
But
Obviously,
he can't do that from a government point of view.
Of course, he can't do that from a government
point of view. But he could do that
view,
from an individual point of view.
and he needs votes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, I get that. I get that.
Yep.
I get that. Yeah.
I think what's fascinating is that no big player wants to be first and no big player wants to be last. But if America is the big player that's first, every big player's treasury strategy changes overnight. Overnight. You're in a boardroom, you're sitting down, you're having conversations. The strategy changes overnight.
It's not just governments either. Like, what about someone like Apple, who's just sitting on a shit ton of cash?
100%.
Dude,
Yeah.
I just like, and this is all again like good for Bitcoin and stuff. I'm just mind
Are you
blown.
worried? Are you worried?
No. I'm just mind blown as to where it's going to go. Like, my thesis has always been, every single financial crisis, the central banks have to price fix something. Like, what they do is unnatural. Whenever people complain about volatility is natural. I talked about this. Entropy is natural. Like, there's ever increasing chaos in the universe. And what's unnatural is no volatility, no life, no entropy, right? And so let's go through all the financial crises. Like, they price fix and institutionalized risk in the real estate market, right? They price fix and institutionalized risk in the S&P 500 index. And this cycle, to me, is the bond market. It's like the holy mother mecca of all the financial markets in the world. It's the biggest financial market in the world. Treasuries, bonds, government bonds took over from the gold standard. Like, they are where everyone's cash balances are. And
Do you
those
know what
things,
the market cap of US T-bills is?
oh my goodness, like hundreds, trillions, hundreds of trillions of dollars. And for the first time, they're getting obliterated, like absolutely destroyed. And so as this was unfolding and you see a Bitcoin ETF come on market, why? Because people want exit door. People want a way out, a way. How do you get safety if the biggest market falls apart and the central bank is going to have to print to prop that up? Then, like, it doesn't matter. In the face of a hawkish Fed, gold is going bull. That means everyone's terrified of the future of the dollar. They're terrified of the future of the dollar because the bond market can't last at this performance. They're going to have to print. So that's the thesis. That's the thesis. That's the thesis. But then for the leading presidential candidate to come out and lean into that, I'm just curious of like, what happens to the bond market? And
that face says it all.
And then I'm sitting with my dad and we're like going through it, and he's like, yeah, if bonds are getting obliterated, bondholders, everyone's questioning for the first time ever, wait, is the 60-40 portfolio a good idea? Because I'm kind of getting my ass kicked. Should I buy this Bitcoin ETF? And everyone's like, well, and then for the leading presidential candidate to be like, yeah, no, you should. We got way too much deficit. Fuck the dollar. Fuck the bond market.
Well, he won't
we
say
need
fuck the dollar.
We need a strategic reserve of this thing. Yeah, but again, it says so he's going to print and buy.
He will probably. I wouldn't be surprised if this announcement does happen, that he will say like, I also love the U.S. dollar. Like
Yeah,
he's
but
going to mix that in with the messaging.
Yeah, but his
Okay.
words won't say fuck the
The
US
actions
dollars.
will.
100%. I mean, just follow the money.
Yeah.
And then it's just, when does it stop? It's like, okay, we printed, we acquired the strategic, but we're not going to do any more. Like, really?
Yeah.
Like, everyone's going to realize, like, wait a second, you can create time and energy out of thin air to acquire real time and energy that like physically exists in the real world. It's like, okay, well, if you don't do it, I'm going to do it and you're going to lose. And that's the game theory, is like, if the US doesn't do it anymore and we say, whoa, we got to protect the bond market, we're not going to buy any more coin, then China's going to say, okay, good game. Thank you for playing and good luck with your bond market that is worth actually nothing. And so like, it's just a very, I'm just curious. Hey, I'm the guy that said Bitcoin can go to 250K to $1 million. Like, I do think under drastic circumstances, assuming some of these rumors have even an ounce of truth, you could see Bitcoin touch $1 million a coin. If
When, like next week or
within the next 12 months, I believe that.
I think something interesting, at least in the Bitcoin space, is that, and again, I'm fully on Jack's side of this. I could give a fuck less about politics. I have it right here on my shirt. I vote with my money. I buy Bitcoin. That's my vote. I could give a fuck less. Kamala, Biden, JD Vance, I don't care. Trump says a lot of shit. Is there any merit to him, getting up on the stage? Oh, we're going to do, we're going to build a wall and Mexico's going to pay for it. Like, there's no wall and Mexico didn't give us a fucking dollar. So I do wonder if there's, and I feel like Bitcoiners are like, oh my God, if he says it, then it's happening. And that's certainly not the case. But no one's talking about that.
no, but that's what's different about this than everything else.
What?
Is that he might
Why
not,
is that different than the wall?
because he might not even need to do it.
Yeah.
Like it just becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like it becomes a game of chicken. Right?
You're saying if he says it, someone else might do it.
Well, he can't become president until January.
Right.
So currently it's July. So like the back of napkin is pretty easy math. 6 months, right? He has to at least wait 6 months to fulfill that promise. That's a hell of a lot of time for the market to start pricing in whether or not it happens or not.
Yeah.
And then
true.
it just becomes, at that point, it just becomes a massive, like you don't even have to trust him to actually fulfill.
I think that this would be the most important political, economic announcement since 1971.
Even if it doesn't happen.
Yeah. Let me rephrase it, because I think people get lost in like Bitcoin and the Bitcoin conference and the Lightning Network and stuff. What if Trump? No, seriously. What if Trump?
Blockchain.
What if he came out and said, once I become president, I will start aggressively building a strategic reserve of gold? What would that tell you about his confidence in, and what everyone else should have confidence in? The dollar, the bond market, the geopolitical relationships that we have with people like Russia and China.
It shakes it. Shaky.
Shakes it.
Yeah, it shakes it.
It fucking rocks it.
Yeah.
Are you kidding? If like Trump was like, as soon as I get in there, I'm ordering our central bank to fill my order of massive piles of gold strategically because of our deficits in our relationship with those way out east. You don't think the markets react to that tomorrow? You think they're going to wait to January
to see if he does it or not? They won't.
That is the shot heard around the world. That's what I'm trying to like walk myself through, talk out loud about, is like, are we fucking kidding? And then as a US citizen, am I expected to get the CPI report and give a fuck? My president is actively saying like, the deficits, like none of this shit matters. Like we strategically need hard assets. Are you like, dude? I mean, that's the thing. It's over, and everyone's like, wait, we can strategically print fake money to strategically get the thing that clearly everyone cares about.
Strategically.
It has to be strategic.
It's like, what are we? It's like, what are we talking about? And again, I think it's good. Like, the end of the road is Bitcoin's the world reserve currency. Like, the thing we use to store and exchange our time and energy has like ties to the physical world, is distributed, all this stuff. But I mean, I don't know. We'll see what he says. But safety and sats, I feel good where I'm at.
Safety and sats.
Just going to be, I do think the last thing I'll say on this real quick is this is the biggest since 1971. Biggest since 1971, but there's a huge difference because I feel like I've come off as like a little too pessimistic. There's a huge difference. 1971 was a bad announcement. It was, I'm confiscating all your stuff. This, I think, is optimism.
Well, I think if you pull away all the politics, right? It's the American society is incredibly divisive right now, especially on the politics side. But let's pretend there's no person making this speech, that this is just, we're just talking about America in the abstract. What you said earlier, that America should be using the situation that we somehow still have reserve currency status, have a massive amount of debt, that we should strategically be buying hard assets and storing them long term for the good of the country. I think that's just objectively true.
Yeah.
Like, I think I agree with that. And it's not just because, like, I don't hold dollars and I only hold Bitcoin and it'd be great for my bags. Like, even if it was gold, that would be a bit of a cursed timeline as a longtime Bitcoiner, because the gold bugs would be incredibly happy. But I think it would probably be in the best interest of the country.
I mean, listen, I agree. The point is the current system.
And we do have a strategic reserve of gold already.
Yeah. The current system is untenable, right? That's the point. And like all of these things are ways of reset. The best way for America is to strategically own a lot of Bitcoin. Well, that's my favorite part.
Can we name the episode just strategically?
Yeah, that's my favorite part about these rumors. It's strategic. I'm going to strategically debase my currency to strategically own a lot of Bitcoin. They're all ways of resetting, but again, like the loss has to be realized. I don't think people understand how small the door is to escape. It's like not everyone's going to be able to get out. So,
you get Bitcoin at the price you deserve.
Yeah, I would buy Bitcoin, but I agree. We should own hard assets. We should debase the thing we own debt in. We should reset towards open, tech forward, freedom, ethics, morals. That's America, right? And so I love everything about it. But yeah, there's going to be civil unrest too. I mean, the guy that's like signed up to like bust his ass, get a college loan, and is going to wake up and be like, wait, what? Like everything I worked for my whole life is worthless. Whatever.
I think
I digress. We'll see what happens.
I think a lot of people feel that way right now.
Totally. Of course. I mean, I think this is huge. I'm beyond excited. I have no idea what he's going to say. I'm just excited to be there, be here in Nashville.
It's pretty crazy that in 3 years we went from being excited that the president of El Salvador, a country of 6 million people, was talking about Bitcoin, to the former president of the United States and the likely next president of the United States is coming to talk about Bitcoin.
It's beyond crazy.
Like, it's easy to get lost in, like everything moves so slowly. Like that's quick as fuck.
That's a lifetime compressed into 3 years.
Pretty unreal.
100%.
That's why I have gray hair.
Yeah.
Stressed about the American public.
It's unbelievable to like the definition of the word. Hard to fathom.
I just want to, as the co-founder of Bitcoin Park, by the way, to my intro, OpenSats I make no money on. Bitcoin Park is an unprofitable for-profit company. So those are like both my two charity arms, and then 1031 is where I try and support my family. But we have really no idea how this audio quality is. I just want to let you know we tried our best. There's about 250 people in the event space at Bitcoin Park right now with our AV team. But we wanted to get you guys this content. So I hope it comes out good. I put on the headphones because I guess I'm the AV guy now. And I think we're in a good spot, but I just
How
wanted
does it
to.
sound?
We can hear us.
Okay.
Yeah, we appreciate it. This will be a good episode. Yeah, what do we got? Maybe 10 minutes or so left. I think
We could squeeze it to 15, right?
yeah.
We have plenty to talk about. There's a lot to talk about.
I was gonna transition to a non-conference topic, I think, right? You guys want to? I think
Yeah.
takeaway, if Trump gets up there and says, we gotta own Bitcoin, we gotta own freedom money, this is not anti-dollar, this is pro-freedom, and it'd be the happiest I've been as an American citizen born in 1994, 30 years old. That'd be the happiest I've ever been to be an American, the future of my country. I would love that. And so I think it's all good things. I'm curious what's going to happen after. There's a lot of propped up stuff that is going to have to react to that statement, and we'll see what happens, but you find safety in SaaS. With that, what else is going on in the Bitcoin world? I mean, there's other people speaking at the conference too, right? I don't know if anyone else has anything else to say. Maybe not.
Unless I get bumped, I'm supposed to speak after Trump.
Yeah, you excited for that?
I was supposed to talk about Nostr.
Huge.
Are
Are you still talking about Nostr?
Depending on the Trump announcement, I don't know what we'll talk about.
Yeah.
We might just talk about that.
Yeah.
With like a little bit of Nostr twist.
Invite him back on stage. He needs a Nostr account.
Come back on.
Yeah, come back on.
No, I mean, he has like 5 billion reasons to pump Truth Social, so
yes,
it is what it is. I would just, if we're going to end the Trump thing, I would just say, if you hate Trump, like, don't let it dictate your financial decisions for your family. Like, you can hate Trump and he could still drastically accelerate Bitcoin adoption and the price of Bitcoin. Like, both those things can be true. So don't let emotions dictate how you make decisions at this point. Just stay on Bloomstack sides.
I feel like people these days vote on single issues. My single issues, Bitcoin. I'm probably going to opt out of this election. Don't really give a shit. Think both candidates suck. Just going to buy Bitcoin. That's my take.
They have to print money no matter what. And so if one of them is going to print money to buy Bitcoin, that's fucking awesome. It's better than the guy that's printing money to fund war.
No, but what scares me, and I'm just like, Rabbit Hole Recap every week for 6 years. I can sleep well at night knowing that I told as many people as physically possible to stay on Bloomstack sats while they could. But because we live in such a political, divisive world, there's like 50% of the country that may write off Bitcoin for the next 2 years or 3 years after whatever he says. That they will not even look into it because the bad man went on stage and said he liked the coin and he was going to stack as much of it as possible.
No way. For the same reason that for whatever excuse someone didn't like Bitcoin, number go up, technology. If this thing performs, listen, and I'll say this, like, no one is going to let the Bitcoin guy get more groceries, have the big house, have the nice cars, have the pretty wife. No, if the difference is Bitcoin, is owning Bitcoin, it's like, fucking cares about what anyone says about it. That's how it always works. Is just the price is the biggest sell. It's the quality of the money. It's the hardness of the monetary policy. You don't think if Trump says, I love Bitcoin, and Bitcoin goes to $1 million per coin, you think someone's going to be willingly poor and have a terrible quality of life because of what Trump said at a conference?
Yeah, I'm going to agree with. I think social issues are one thing. There's a whole suite of beliefs you're able to opt into or opt out to. What this person can or can't do with their own autonomy. Money. I mean, money is, to me at least, a universally accepted and universally agreed upon idea. And if you're going to watch better money outperform the money that you hold, I don't care what you believe in. You're going to lose faith in one and adopt faith in the other.
Before Saturday, I just want to reiterate that the beauty of Bitcoin is that none of us can stop other people from using Bitcoin, whether that's holding Bitcoin or spending Bitcoin. I think you guys, I hope you guys are right. But I think there's a large portion of the country that have already kind of written off Bitcoin that will write it off even more if, because they're going to just connect it to this polarizing figure. I mean, do we have a more polarizing figure in America?
That's true.
Is there a single figure in America that's more polarizing?
No.
Probably not.
That's true, but until it isn't, like, I think immediately, like in the immediate, there might be people that are even upset that I'm the founder of a Bitcoin company and stuff. But with time, over a year, over 2, over 3, I think
Yeah, like they might get over it at $1.5 million a coin.
that
It's like, okay, like
That's a pretty strong incentive.
I'm advocating for them to consider getting over it before then.
For sure.
Oh, I agree with that.
Of course.
I agree with that.
So,
And
guys,
also-
we've spent 40 minutes talking about what Trump might say on Saturday.
Well, whether he says it or not, what happens if the U.S. buys Bitcoin? That's like trying to explore that.
Yeah.
I think that is unbelievable, uncharted waters. Like the gravity, I think there has not been an announcement like this from government in at least 50 years. And the last one was a bad one. This one would be like the opposite.
I think this is like the second out of all policy things that I could ask for. This is like the second most bullish. And the first would be, and there's an order of operations. Like I wish this one came first, and it's just not going to happen. Is that the U.S. government has to burn any Bitcoin they seize? Because what really concerns me, and it might not, we live in a global world. What really concerns me is when nation state FOMO really starts. Like at some point, the incentives become so large for them to just steal it from their citizens. And you can provably burn Bitcoin, right? And there's actually historical precedent for governments burning things they seize. They burn cocaine, right? If they get fentanyl, they burn the fentanyl.
Burn books.
Historically. But I don't advocate for that. But I'm a little bit concerned that we hit nation state FOMO, and maybe not in America. Maybe our Constitution protects us enough. Maybe it's not. Maybe they don't have the political buy-in to actually do it. But that really concerns me as we enter the era of nation state FOMO. Is nation states taking Bitcoin from both their citizens and from citizens of other countries?
Yeah. Yeah. Wrench, knee, private key.
Yeah, I mean, like Bitcoin has very strong security guarantees if you're holding self-custody, but governments also have like aircraft carriers and guns and shit.
Yeah. That's a strong incentive.
Yeah, I mean, that's always without Bitcoin, that's always been a problem, is how to establish property rights. The governments, that's the issue in relationship with government, is they have military. And the U.S. has been, relative to others, phenomenal about protecting and establishing property rights, but other places haven't. So that's always a risk, no matter what. That's not a Bitcoin specific risk. And navigating that is going to be less about code, in my opinion, and more about, I don't know, like I'm curious to see who runs for office over the next 20 years. There's a lot of change in the country. And I think becoming a politician is going to matter a lot more, and the quality of candidate is going to matter and change. I don't know. I think Bitcoiners should run for office.
Are you going to run for office?
In all levels of politics? No. Not
I
anytime
mean,
soon.
I think the problem is at the core is like you have to be a sociopath to want that fucking job. Like I would never want to do that.
Maybe that's why you'd be good at it.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to do it though. So like we're back at square one.
I'm just saying, I feel like the
Yeah.
people that want to do it are the worst type of people to actually get the job.
Yeah.
'Cause
Yeah.
to your point, you have to be a maniacal, imperialistic fucking
Like horrible.
sociopath.
Yeah. There is a really interesting, like, Bitcoin's the only physical asset you can actually die with physically. Like, I've talked about this before.
It's like the King Tut get buried with your wealth or whatever.
Yeah, like if someone walks into my house and says, "I'm going to put this bullet through your head," or give me the house, whatever. Like they could kill me, and then just like the house is still there though, and they'll take it, right? And they'll use it. Same with gold. Same with everything except Bitcoin. I could look at the guy back and say, "You can shoot me, but the Bitcoin's in my brain. So I die, so does the coin." So if what you actually want is the Bitcoin, the only thing you can't do is kill me. You can try and torture me and you can try and manipulate me to give you the 12 words, but the only thing you can't do, it is the most pure form of property rights. When I die, so does the
Yep.
coin. And so I don't think that's going to stop government from abusing people in some egregious scenario, but eventually it does. Because what are you going to do? Kill everyone and get no Bitcoin? They may make examples out of people and stuff, but I don't know. That's another. It is an interesting property of Bitcoin. Is it's physical property in your head, so no one can kill you and take it from you. Like if you want utmost security, you can memorize 12 words, and when you go, so does the coin, which is the deepest incentive for people to keep you alive.
A peaceful revolution.
Yes, it incentivizes no violence. Okay, we've got 5 minutes max. Any non-conference, we're processing all the payments at the conference. BTC Pay server built a plugin using the Strike API.
I think that's
Excited
awesome.
about that. I'm pumped about that.
I think it's cool that they could just like open source contributors could just build an integration with the API with very little permission from Strike or like very little active contribution from Strike. It was just here's our API, build the thing, boom, done.
Yeah, I mean it says a lot about those that contribute to BTC Pay. Super talented group, unbelievable project. I think they built it in a month, and they're solving a real problem, which each merchant has their own independent needs and requirements to actually accept Bitcoin payments. Some have accounting requirements. Some need to sell some of the Bitcoin. Some need to denominate everything in fiat currency when they charge. And so for us to have like extensible financial services that are regulated and reliable, and for an open source project to bake that in and solve 50 plus merchants problems at a conference the size and scale of this one with presidents walking around, it's pretty fucking badass. It is pretty cool. So I'm proud of that. Shout out to BTC Pay and shout out the conference.
I have a good topic. Did you see Proton is releasing a Bitcoin wallet, self-custody Bitcoin wallet?
Awesome. Have you tried it?
I have not tested it out in production yet, but I've been working with their team for a few months throughout development.
Fuck yeah.
And their priorities are in the right place, and it's pretty fucking awesome that they're doing it.
Do you know when it goes live?
The like invite only period will go live in like a few days.
Oh shit.
And then they'll gradually release it to. They have a ton of users.
Yeah, they have a lot of users.
You can easily send Bitcoin by using an email address, and they've taken great strides in terms of making sure everything is open source and everything's local, self-custody, and trying to preserve privacy as much as possible while maintaining good UX.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
It's exciting. Huge.
Yeah, it's incredible. Available to US users?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's on-chain only.
Okay.
So I was the crazy person when they were seeking advice or, the 10th man or whatever that was like, no Lightning. Because they were like, we need to be self-custody. We're self-custody maximalists, and we need the UX to be good. And I was like, Lightning is not ready for that yet. I was like, just ship on-chain, do on-chain the right way. They can use a different Lightning wallet. And then, as Lightning development iterates and improves, like maybe you figure out some kind of self-custody model that doesn't have much friction.
I think that makes sense.
They wanted self-custody no matter what. They wanted to control the whole stack. They wanted to run the servers. And they did not want to take custody of user funds.
I mean, one of the weakest areas of the space is non-custodial user experience.
Particularly of Lightning.
Of Lightning, sure, but any new protocol or project on Bitcoin just needs time. But overall, if someone like Proton, who has an overlapping demographic that non-custodial wallet makes sense to, can actually solve this problem in a way, like having the incentives in an actual business that's solving a real problem for people that are going to use it, is exciting. It's huge. Good job. Hey, thanks for what you do, man.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
Okay. Any parting words? Make America great again. Make America stack for the first time ever. We have no political bias on this podcast, to be clear. I've never voted, and I'm not sure I ever will. But I'm looking forward to this week.
Do you think do we have overlapping audiences? Do you think the majority of your audience knows who I am?
Yeah, yes. I mean, I know some of my like hometown buddies listen, and maybe they don't, but I think it's mostly.
Yeah, the YouTube analytics has like people who watch this also watch, and
yeah,
it's like,
I feel like they watch Money Matters on Monday, and then they go to Rabbit Hole Recap on Thursday. It's
Yeah.
like their two bookends.
it's
of
Rabbit
the week,
Hole
right?
Recap. It's what Bitcoin did.
Okay. Well, my parting thoughts are stay humble, stack sats.
Get long, get paid.
Sweet.
Go long, get paid.
Get long, get paid.
I like that.
It's a Bill Maller's thing.
It's my dad.
That's good.
It's good. It's very good.
Get long, get paid.
Mm-hmm.
Sexy.
All right. We'll talk to you guys next week.